Time now for 1 full hour of nitro-fueled NHRA talk. It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, your hosts, Marty Hough and 10-time NHRA winner Doug Herbert.
You're listening to The Straight Line on drag racing at MRN.com. Thanks for being here for our 1 hour of horsepower. Appreciate you joining us. It's the weekend. All drag racing fans, get ready for Labor Day weekend and the big go, the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis. We'll relive some great memories with the professor of Pro Stock, Warren Johnson, and the great Shirley Muldowney. And preview Indy with ESPN's Dave Rieff. We're in the lights and set to launch another edition of The Straight Line. Wherever you may be, it is The Straight Line on MRN.com, along with 4-time IHRA Top Fuel champion, 10-time NHRA national event winner, and quite possibly the most busy guy on the face of the planet over the last couple of weeks, Doug Herbert. I'm Marty Hough. Right. Man, last week you were not here in this chair. You were in Washington, D.C., which kind of started the odyssey I just talked about. And
right.
Just kind of take us back to where you've been and what you've been doing over the last couple of weeks.
We've been really busy. So Breaks is going, it's unbelievable. We talked about the study from UNC Charlotte, which showed the Breaks trained teen drivers are 64% less likely to be involved in an accident.
Which is amazing.
That prompted a trip to Washington, D.C. to talk to the U.S. Department of Transportation and to do some interviews up there. So we did that. And then yesterday afternoon, we were in Nashville for the National Governors Highway Safety Association, and I got an award for making safer highways. So pretty neat.
Congratulations
really neat
on that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. So just really a lot of neat stuff going on and a lot of fun, and we're training kids and, teenagers. They don't like to be called kids. We're training teenagers about driving safely and really talking to some neat folks. So it's been a very busy. I'm getting my frequent flyer status upgraded. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mimi and I are gold flyers and all that now, so that's good. But we're having a good time, and it's a rewarding thing, and we're having fun. Put on the Brakes is doing well. We're having our big gala September 17th. I know you're coming.
Yep.
Over here at the Great Wolf Lodge before the big ZMAX countdown race in a few weeks. So. Looking forward to that. So a lot of good stuff going on. Indy this weekend. We got a lot to talk about NHRA coming up, too.
Yeah, no question about that. Real quick, for people that want to know more about Breaks and especially the gala coming up here in a couple of weeks, where do they go?
Well, best thing to do, go to the website, putonthebrakes.org, check it out. We've got most of the information on there. If it's something that you want to know that's not on there, call the Brakes office. You'll talk to Carly or Jennifer or Jane or Matt or Allison. You'll talk to somebody at the office, and they will help you out. Fix you up.
Yeah, and so as I understand it, there's not much room at the gala. So if you want to go, you better get a seat. You better get a seat
pretty soon, because it's going to be a sellout this year, and it's going to be really, really fun. A lot of special guests. Our main speaker this year is Colonel William Gray from the North Carolina State Highway Patrol. He's really the head guy for the thousands of highway patrolmen. He's going to be our speaker. We've got, I'm trying to think who else we have. John Roberts.
And Jeff Hammond.
And Jeff Hammond are the MCs.
Yep.
Last year, Daryl Waltrip said the invocation. John Force always comes and has a big time. So it'll be a really, really fun time. Do not miss it. If you're in Charlotte and you're going to eat dinner anyways, come to Breaks Gala.
Yeah, it might as well. Somebody that will be there and will be on our show, Shirley Muldowney, will join us a little bit later on in the program. The professor of Pro Stock, Warren Johnson, 6-time U.S. Nationals winner, will be here, and we'll talk Indy memories with WJ, and also we'll get a preview of what's happening this weekend at Indy with Dave Rieff of ESPN. 13 hours of coverage on ESPN this weekend. Want to go back over probably the biggest news of the week. Centralized at Don Schumacher Racing. It was announced on last Friday, that Spencer Massey had once again been fired from Don Schumacher Racing. Second time that this has happened, and kind of right out of the blue, right before the U.S. Nationals, right before the Traxxas shootout, DSR lets Spencer Massey go. I was taking a little bit back about it, and I think most everybody else was as well.
Well, yeah, J.R. Todd now advanced into the Traxxas shootout because of that. So a lot of turmoil. What is going on? I don't know. I haven't talked to Don. Don's a pretty fair guy. I'm guessing something pretty major happened to make a change at this point in the season. Who knows what it is? I don't know. It'd only be purely speculation. But something pretty serious happened. Yeah. Don wouldn't make that change at this point. So Khaled Al-Balushi is going to be driving that car. He'll do a fine job. He can plug right into that car. I'll be fine. I was a little pissed they didn't call me to drive that car.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. But whatever. Yeah.
We've got an open seat, Doug. Come on over.
Yeah, well, it's made for a little small guy, and I'm a full-size guy. I don't know if I'd fit in the car, so that might be the issue. Who knows? And to be honest, I'm guessing Belushi probably took a checkbook over there.
No question.
So. I mean, I could take my checkbook over there. You just couldn't deposit the check.
Sure. I mean, you could wave that checkbook all you want.
Like a boomerang. So, but at any rate, Belushi will do a good job driving the car. He's got experience. It's no problem. They put him in the car. He'll go out there and do fine. Now, the big thing to me, I was thinking, looking at my notes, number 10 in points, Spencer Massey with 888 points. Barely... 100, just over 100 points back is Clay Millican and Dave Conley.
Right.
Indy being points and a half. They've actually got a shot at getting in the championship count. And I talked to Clay Millican the other day. It's not a gimme by any means, but they've got a long shot to get in. He's pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
David Grebnick will be pretty excited about that. That team will be excited about that. They need that. They need to get into that countdown. That would be really, really good for them right now, especially with all the issues that Clay's family has had. He just, they need a boost. That would be a great boost.
Yeah, and a little bit of an update. Can you update us on how Clay's doing now?
I talked to Clay the other day, and he was doing okay. You just have, you have days, you have days that are better than other days, and then you have your kid's birthday, or or something pops into your head and makes you sad. And I've told Clay, hey. You've got a million good things to think about, really only one bad thing. Focus on those million good things. When he comes to town, I'm going to take him to lunch with some of my buddies, and we'll probably – that'll be a good time for him too.
Yeah, no question about it. When we return, Warren Johnson will be with us, and my guess – is that he'll have a couple of opinions. This just in. WJ may have an opinion or two on the Pro Stock class and where it's headed, but also we want to get mainly into the memories of U.S. Nationals because he's won 6. I mean, one of the more dominant figures in U.S. Nationals history, and dominant.
WJ's a great racer, and a lot of people think he was dry and not much fun. He's actually got a great sense of humor. I like WJ, so we'll have fun with him on the show. I haven't talked to him in years, but it'll be good to have.
One of those Minnesota guys. People think of him as being a Southern guy because his shop has been in Georgia for years. But he's from Minnesota, and it's kind of like Jason Line and Greg Anderson, where they've got that really, really dry sense of humor, and you got to be paying attention because they'll say something really funny, and it'll go completely over your head. Right. WJ is one of the best at that.
He really is, yeah. So he's fun. Be looking forward to having him on the show. Another big news deal that was just announced at the NHRA, Ken Adelson is the new VP of broadcasting for the NHRA. They're bringing their production in-house.
Right.
They're building studios. They're doing all kinds of stuff. So that's pretty big news. But he came from the NBA, has a pretty good live sports background, which I guess if you're going to have 16 live drag racing shows, you better have a pretty good live sports background. So I think that was pretty exciting news probably from NHRA, that things are happening. They're changing things. They're wanting to move forward. They're wanting to improve the broadcast and the sport in general.
Right. It starts with the TV broadcast right now, because that's what's happening. That's what's changing. And to make those positive steps forward, especially during this week, because everybody's going to have their eyes on the U.S. Nationals.
Right.
And to make those announcements right now, really, really cool. And so hopefully, and by the way, we have made the efforts, and we are trying to, at some point here in the very near future, get Peter Clifford on the straight line and just kind of talk about where things stand right now after he's had a little bit of time now, and they've made some adjustments, and they've made some announcements, a lot of announcements actually, and changes coming up for this year and also 2016 and the sport going ahead. So
I'm excited about it, and I think I talked on the show. I had a nice conversation when I was with him when I was in Denver. Yeah. I'm impressed. I think I liked Tom Compton. I think I think he did a fine job during his time there. Sure. I'm glad to see Peter Clifford come in. I think he's going to do a good job, and he's not afraid to make some changes. And you know what? That's exciting. Yeah. I mean, we don't wear blue suede shoes anymore, so it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. I'm excited about it, and we'll look forward to having Peter or some of the other NHRA folks on the line here before too long. Yep,
exactly, especially since we're heading into the countdown after the U.S. Nationals. We got a week off, and then everybody comes to us here at in the Charlotte area in ZMAX Dragway for the first race in the countdown. When we return, we will talk to the professor of Pro Stock. Warren Johnson joins us next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
If your vehicle has a bumpy ride, it might be time for new shocks or struts. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 4 Monroe shocks and struts for the price of 3 after mail-in rebate. Improve your vehicle's steering, stopping, and stability with Monroe shocks and struts at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
Listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being with us here on The Straight Line, MRN.com, on a Wednesday afternoon just before the 61st running of the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis. And joining us on the telephone line right now is a 6-time winner of the Big Go. He's the professor of Pro Stock. Warren Johnson joins us. Warren, thanks for being here. We really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Hey, Warren, Doug Herbert here.
Doug,
how are you doing? I am doing great. I haven't talked to you in a long time. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, I'm above ground and vertical yet.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, 6-time winner at Indy, WJ. You had something figured out there.
Yeah, I had some success out there. I think I won it 4 times in a row, and then overall 6 times. And it's one of those races. It's like the drag racing version of the Daytona 500, really. It's the biggest race that the drag racing fraternity has all year long, and if anybody is going to have a resume in drag racing that's worth anything, it has to have an Indy win on it, at least one.
Right.
You won like you said, you won 4 in a row, 93 through 95, but you got that first one in 84. Was that a bit of a surprise for you?
Well, we were running actually relatively well as opposed to Glidden back in that era, and we were, able to win it because we were running relatively well at the point, and you're happy to win that particular race. And then there was kind of a dry spell in between there. We were changing cars and doing a lot of experimenting at that point in time, and then we kind of hit our stride in the early 90s.
Hey, WJ, tell us what have you and Kurt been up to lately, and any plans to get back out to the drag strip?
Well, we've been doing a lot of R&D projects right now and finishing a lot of stuff off. I decided a couple of years ago I'm going to back away from this thing and take care of some projects that have been sitting in the shop here for basically years, and got all them cleaned out and rebuilt 3 of the CNCs, and got another one in here, got trained on that, and along with that, like I said before, we've been doing a lot of R&D programs, gearing up for this fuel injection thing, although we've been doing fuel injection programs on various other engine combinations before, so I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. But at the same time, they've thrown some curves in there with a dedicated ECU and dedicated injectors and whatnot, so that'll cut a lot of R&D out. Whether it'll ultimately help us in the long run, can't tell you that until we fire first one up in a couple of weeks.
Speaking of that EFI change, now with the hoods is probably going to change the manifolds and wheelie bars and all that. How do you see all these changes? You and I were on that Pro Racers board for years together and talking about these various changes coming down the road. How do you feel about these coming along right now?
Well, at the same, racers never want to change. Once they get happy about some particular combination, they want to stick with that, and so therefore they're not very inclined to accept change. But at the same time, if you aren't constantly evolving, anything becomes boring because they're going to see the same show every day. If you throw in a little bit of a twist in it of some sort, put a chicane in the middle of the drag strip and see how that works out. Let's get some excitement out here. So I don't know. We'll see in the long run if it's managed correctly by the sanctioning body. Any change in any category has a potential of being good, and I'm talking about it from a standpoint of increasing spectator appeal and increasing spectator attendance.
Right.
Warren, you won the 4 in a row, 93, 92 through 95. When you showed up and you got that second one in 92, and then they just started coming, obviously you were the dominant figure in the Pro Stock class at that time. But when you showed up at Indy, did you just feel like we've got this one?
No, you prepare. It doesn't make any difference in motorsports or any sort of competition. You prepare as well as you can, financially afford to do, and how much time you can dedicate towards it. And because I was making my living, I was one of the very few that made a living drag racing.
Yeah.
I prepared. It was a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week deal for me, and we prepared as best that we possibly knew how. Because there's always, breakage. You have to include that in there, and you look at, your equipment, what you have to work with, and you analyze every aspect of how you can lose and fix that side of the equation.
I think you were one of the guys that told me years ago that there's about the time you think there's 1 million ways to lose, you find out there's actually 1,000,001.
I've expanded it to about 2 million.
That's what I thought. Oh, man. Well, I know one thing. Everybody misses you out at the NHRA races, even though I haven't been out there as much. But you're obviously one of the fan favorites in Pro Stock and one of the fan favorites in general, just because you're, everybody, the professor, your nickname. Tell us, how did you get that nickname back in the day?
Well, thank you for the compliment. But I actually got it from one of the staff writers from National Dragster. I believe the guy's name was John Brousseau. This was back around the earlier middle 80s. And we were at Baton Rouge, and you know what kind of a place that was to race at. And I took a real analytical look at what it took to win racing. I mean, that was my business, so it'd be no different than a financial person, looking at the stock market. You deal with what you have to do and do the best you possibly can, and try, unearth any possible factors of causing you to lose. And he kind of realized that I had a much more analytical approach to winning races than most of the people that are out there just having some fun. And that's consequently where I got the name Professor, although I've been called worse by close friends. So.
You and Bob Glidden obviously dominated Pro Stock with the amount of wins, amount of U.S. Nationals, and you both kind of took the same approach to racing and kind of like life as well. What was your relationship with Bob Glidden? Because I know you guys were really keen competitors as well.
Well, I think there was a span of about 10 years. I don't think we spoke 10 words to each other because we both realized that we were two dogs fighting for the same bone. And ironically, both of us made a living drag racing.
Right.
So therefore, we were vicious at whatever it took to win is what we did. Outside of blatantly cheating, but we were there to win a race because we looked at it the same as, there's a check that we're going to have a name put on it, and it's damn well better be mine, is the way we looked at it. And that's why we had a mutual respect for each other from the standpoint that we were both trying to win. And, we just never could get away from that. And I've spoken to Bob after that and whatnot, and it's kind of ironic. We both had the same mindset, and nobody realized it. This is the way we made a living. Everybody else is out there just playing.
Yeah.
Which made it easier for us somewhat.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I know at several different times throughout the past history, you've been involved with NASCAR engines and all kinds of other motorsport. What other kind of motorsports and engine stuff are you involved with now, WJ?
Actually, when I first started out drag racing, I was building engines for all kinds of round track, boat racing, sporty cars, whatever I could make some money at. And that actually in the long run helped me out because it kind of opened my mind that all we're talking about is rods, pistons, and valves, and it can't need to read the name on the hood. So you just work with what you have to work with. And we've done some development jobs for NASCAR teams, and we did a pretty extensive program for Kickoff for Marines offshore, a boat racing program, and all other forms of racing. So it's what's kept me interested in this sport, because there's always a new challenge every day, if you want one. And I'm certainly up to any challenge anytime.
Speaking of new challenges, and you've already kind of spoke about that, give us a little bit more of your perspective of the changes coming up, or the changes that have already happened in the Pro Stock class here in 2017, the pit rules and that sort of thing, but more importantly, what's ahead in 2016 with EFI, hood scoops, and all of that?
Well, at this point in time, it's kind of in a embryonic state, so to speak, because NHRA opened up the box. I'm sure Peter Clifford just told his team, Graham Light and Tim White and Glenn Gray, that I want them hood scoops off the car. I want fuel injection. You go handle it. And they're really kind of open to, because nobody's run one. They've never seen one in this configuration. So they're a little bit open to, okay, maybe we have to change this, change that, and whatnot, because we obviously don't want to, spend another $100,000 on these cars just to put fuel injection on it if there's no redeeming quality of the change at the end. So I think they're kind of open. There's going to be no hood scoop, but whether it's going to be a front air entry or a base plate at the base of the windshield cowl induction, that's kind of open right now until we get some on the racetrack and test it and show what it looks like. Those changes will come about. It's going to be kind of an evolutionary thing at this point in time. The shorter wheelie bars to, I guess to get some wheel stands or something out of them. But with these, $18,000 shocks, and you could damn near take the wheelie bars off them. It wouldn't affect anything. So they're affecting a change that's not going to affect anything. So overall, we'll wait and see after the first race, and we'll see what's actually set in stone at that point in time.
How would you be if you had to take a car, let's say to the U.S. Nationals right now, and have your motor pointed out towards the fans?
Wouldn't bother me at all, because we always put covers on stuff that people are so intrigued that looking at the cover, they never looked at what was really the interesting part of it. I refer to it always as intellectual intercourse. And so taking some covers off something is not going to be a big deal, because what an intake manifold looks like on the outside may not represent anything of what it looks like on the inside. And, you can putty and move things around till, it really looks like something Frankenstein built, and it may be absolutely conventional on the inside.
Yeah. Right. Well, you've always been a 24/7 kind of guy, just like what you're saying. Now that you're not racing, are you just buried into the engine business and the other things, or do you fly model airplanes? Is there any other hobbies?
No, I've just been at the shop here, building a lot of stuff and working on R&D programs and whatnot. Yesterday was a relatively long day. I got here at 4 a.m. and didn't get out of here until midnight. So.
Oh yeah.
And it is not racing. I mean, or at least competitively right now.
Exactly. Yeah, we may not be out racing competitively, but we're doing programs that in the event that we find that it's financially worthwhile to us go to start racing again, we'll do it. But at this point in time, the financial opportunity as far as racing is not the same today as it was 20 years ago when I made a living racing.
Right. Well, Warren Johnson, thanks for joining us. 6-time Indy winner and 4 in a row, 97 career Pro Stock wins. You're one of my heroes, so thanks for joining us. Yeah, thanks for joining us today, and hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you sometime soon.
Stop by whenever I'm there.
Thanks, Debbie.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The professor of Pro Stock, Warren Johnson, and I mean, if you want to get the real scoop, if from a non-BS sort of guy, it's Warren Johnson.
He's funny, and as I was talking about, we were on the Pro Racers board for 10 years together. So it was Kenny Bernstein. Let's see. Gosh, I'm trying to think who all else was on there. But WJ was our Pro Stock guy. Mm-hmm. And so there's 5 of us or so on this board, and we'd sit around and make suggestions to the NHRA about rule changes and cost controls and all these kind of things. And so I would always mess with Warren. What we need to do is load those Pro Stock cars up and get them out. Or I'd say always something like that, and he'd get all fired up, and then I'd start laughing. Herbert, I just, and I always got along really good with him. But that's how I knew he had such a good sense of humor.
Right. He could take that. And he was one that said, that these nitro cars are screwing up the Pro Stock
he hated
show.
nitro cars. You guys put the clutch dust down on the track and mess this up. And I mean, he would just go on, and I said, yeah, and good thing, we clear out space in the stands when you guys run. We'd mess with each other back and forth. But he's a brilliant man, and
he really is.
I'm sure he's helping other teams that are winning right now that we just don't know about.
Yeah, and there's no question about it. Speaking of winning and winning the U.S. Nationals, we will talk to the 1982 Top Fuel winner at Indy. Shirley Muldowney will join us next.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
The following is a message from ToyotaRacing.com. Toyota Racing is all about speed and precision, which is why, right now, my voice is being digitally slowed down. My regular voice has mind-blowing speed and precision. For example, here's how this ad would sound unaffected. Visit ToyotaRacing.com for exclusive NASCAR content and videos, information on our NHRA off-road and other teams. See how fast I normally am, details and stats about all your favorite drivers like Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Matt Kenseth. Complete race results. Actually, this is still kind of slow for me, guys. So, listen to this. You can also find Toyota Racing t-shirts, hoodies, and keychains, Twitter updates, connect with other Toyota Racing fans, and just about anything else Toyota Racing related. Tongue cramp. So, Toyota Racing fans, go check out ToyotaRacing.com. Oh, man, does anyone have an ice pack? NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Big thanks to WJ for joining us on The Straight Line here on a Wednesday afternoon as we're heading into the Big Go week at Indianapolis. 1982, big year for this lady, and ended up with the Wally at the end of the U.S. Nationals, and to kind of put a exclamation on her career. Not that she needed one, but it really kind of did. Joined on the telephone line right now by our good friend Shirley Muldowney. Shirley, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it here on Indy Week.
I sure am.
Shirley, are you going? Shirley, we've talked. You're my buddy. We talk all the time, but I don't remember if you told me you were going to Indy this year or not. I can't remember.
I am going. I have a couple assignments, and I'm looking forward to it. One of my favorite places to be when I'm driving.
Yep.
Not one of my favorite places to be when I'm not driving.
Well, you got to rent a car or something, but that doesn't. You mean driving a Top Fuel dragster?
Yeah, rent a car does nothing for me.
No, I wouldn't think so. Shirley, I know you racers mostly talk about the ones that got away, the ones that you lost by, a thou or, a couple of hundredths or whatever. And for a long time, the U.S. Nationals for you was, kind of the one that got away before 1982. Kind of take us through some of those disappointments before we get to the really good stuff.
I try not to think about the ones that got away because my mindset was, yeah, maybe it got away, but I will find you. Wherever you are, I will down. Yeah. And there is no getting away from me when I'm in your case. So I always thought that Indy was in the cards for me. I'll be honest with you. I think every racer that drives through the gate thinks, cakewalk. It's going to happen this weekend. And for 15 guys, it doesn't happen. It only happens for one.
Yeah.
Shirley, tell us about, I think I know what your favorite Indy moment is, but tell us a little bit about the drama that led up to that and actually winning the U.S. Nationals or whatever your favorite Indy moment was.
Yeah, well, I don't think we qualified on the pole. I think we qualified 2 or 3. I could be wrong. But we were definitely and a car to contend with. I do know that Canicletta was ousted somewhat early, and he ran his legs off running around the pits trying to find someone that would take a given motor engine, if you will, and he was bound and determined it wasn't going to be our day. So it was, and correct me. He did get to the final.
Right.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember you pulling up there and looking over in the other lane, and there was Connie, and you went, oh.
Yeah.
There he was. And now I have my story straight. He was the recipient of a owned engine from Bernstein. So that's how that came down. I guess a little bit too much tire shake in my years or too many runs, but that's how the day ended. And of course, we took the money home.
Yep.
And the trophy.
What was your sense of accomplishment, wanting to win Indy and then going there and getting it done? And, I mean, you'd already won championship. You'd already done these other things, but winning Indy was, that's your top of the list.
I had won the lottery. That's the way I looked at it. And it was, looking back, in 1970 was my first year at Indy. I went there with a dual-engine car, 2 Chevrolets coupled together, supercharged on gasoline, top gas. They were phasing class, and I was there really kind of making a statement. But as it turned out, they did disallow that class the following year, so I went into, that's what was my the door that opened into the nitro classes for me with a funny car. So it took me 12 years to win Indy, but I aside from being runner-up against Scarlett's in 1975, that takes a lot.
Yeah.
But that's when it was 32 car field. You look down the pit row, and there was 60 top fuel cars sitting there. That's a lot of cars to wade through, and they all, trust me, they all hated my guts. But it turned out we went to the final against a better car. But we didn't pay attention as well as we should. But it's one thing. It's to be run up at Indy. Yeah, you can put that in your bag book.
You're fading in and out on us, Shirley.
Is that a little better?
Yeah,
there you go.
That's a little better. Okay, I'm on a cell phone. I hate that. That's why I still pay for a landline, just in hopes that you guys will call me one for a show now and then. So 1975 was, can you imagine a woman in the final at Indy? Oh, my God. Well, wonders never cease. So it was an experience. I love the race. I love the racetrack, and the fans there they're very sharp. They know what they're looking at.
Shirley, before you and I were even friends, my friend Billy Williams had a story about racing you at Indy, and man, Shirley whipped me, and I really like Shirley, and Billy Williams really liked you, which was pretty neat because Billy was my pretty good friend and really kind of mentor when I was starting to get racing back in the 80s, the alcohol car and all that. And Billy had a lot of respect for you, and that was really probably one of the biggest reasons why I always liked you, because my hero, Billy Williams, had so much respect for you. I don't know if I've ever told you that.
Well, that's nice to know. I liked Billy. He always he gentleman. I'll never forget. If I remember right, I was in the left lane and he come down through there. I did cross the finish line first, of course. That was a winning round for me. And here he come with lack of parachute.
Oh.
And I'll never forget that. He waited to the last minute and he cranked that thing to the left and he went into the net with the right side of the car. And I mean, he handled it like a true pro. And he didn't want to go in, T-bone that net. He handled it the way he should have and saved himself. And fortunately, he lost the race, but he still saved himself and his car. Pretty good piece of driving.
Shirley, you talked about getting into nitro ranks in the early 70s, and they talk about good things come out of bad situations. It was at the U.S. Nationals, and I believe it was 73, when you had a pretty bad situation that prompted you to get out of a funny car and go to Top Fuel.
Well, actually, that sealed it in my decision. But I had already kind of had it in the back of my mind to go to fuel. I just got tired of paying for bodies and tin work, and one of those things, as they were at that point in time, was a death trap. It was a hot box on fire at 220 miles. I just they don't put up with that now. Kids.
You're fading on us again, Shirley.
Yeah, they have. Is it better?
Yeah.
They have all the bells and whistles, and they don't have to worry about the down, which is it's generally a downside.
Yeah.
Yeah, being on fire and getting burned up is generally a pretty downside, and you know that as well as anyone. Hey, tell some of the fans that are going to be in Indy, where are you going to be there so they could try and come by and find you?
Okay, NHRA in all their wisdom realize, wow, let's have a Shirley suite. So I know there are I know there are still seats available, but I'm going to be pretty busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday up in the suites, and it's a beautiful dinner, air conditioning, a front row seat, and we can tell war stories all during the qualifying sessions.
You don't have any stories.
I'll get to sell posters down in the Nitro.
Nice.
Pit behind the scenes.
Cool. So fans, I guess, can they probably go on the NHRA website and find some information out?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the thing to do if they're at all interested. I know we did it in Atlanta this year, and it was a complete sellout.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it was.
So, yeah, they've got it together pretty well. They're paying attention.
Well, Indy winner and drag racing legend Shirley Muldowney, thanks for joining us today, Shirley. And I don't know if I'll see you before you go to Indy, but I'll look forward to seeing you and talking to you soon.
Yeah, I will call you with all the great results the minute I know something exciting. You're the first one on my list, Doug.
All right.
Thank you,
Shirley.
man.
Talk
Take
to you
care.
later. Thanks for joining us today.
1982 U.S. Nationals Top Fuel champion Shirley Muldowney joining us on the straight line. And like she said, it took her 12 years of going to the U.S. Nationals. Not that she needed an exclamation point on her career, but she got it winning that U.S. Nationals because she'd already won the championships and had already done, just about everything that you could do except for winning the U.S.
And
Nationals.
I never got to win Indy. I was runner-up in 92 to Ed McCulloch and runner-up in 93 to Pat Austin. And I'll tell you what, it makes me sick. I was not able to win that race, but you know what? I guess I still got unfinished. I got to go back to Indy.
Yeah, well, yeah, no question about that. And now Ace, it was one thing because he won like 100 U.S. nationals in both categories. Pat Austin, though, that was a really interesting story.
Well, we went up there that year, and it got really, really cold right before the final. The year before, McCulloch beat us by 6 inches at the finish line. We got outran, and we weren't going to get outran this time. Well, then it got cold, and Pat and I both smoked the tires, and my blower belt came off the car, and he drove by me and won the race. It was like, man, made me sick. But you know what? That's racing.
Yep, it is. But that's motivation to get back to Indianapolis.
That's right.
When we return, we will talk what's going on TV this weekend, and there's a whole bunch of it. ESPN's Dave Rieff will join us next.
This is The Straight Line. More right after this.
It's O'Rewards Member Appreciation Month. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic or high mileage motor oil and a Mobil 1 filter for $34.99, plus earn double points. Keep your engine clean with Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Dale Jr. here. I wear Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans for any occasion. With new styles and great fits, you'll look good and feel comfortable anytime, anywhere.
Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans are built with a U-shaped construction, so they give you more room where you need it. And their 4-way flex technology moves with you for all-day comfort.
In the garage or out and about, Wrangler knows the ins and outs of comfort. Wrangler, real comfortable jeans.
It's The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now here's Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks for being with us here on The Straight Line. This just in, and for those that may not be aware, going on right now is the Fan Fest in Indianapolis, where all the cars competing this weekend, or at least
downtown Indy on the square circle. I don't know, whatever they call it, downtown Indy. Pretty cool Fan Fest that they do have there. Go ahead with the news, sorry.
And so everybody is there. And the Traxxas shootout voting is going on right now. Well,
basically, what they used to do, I don't know if they still do it the same, fan votes got you draws in the
correct the percentage of the ping pong balls
ping
or
pong
what?
Ball thing.
Yeah,
they draw your number. Anyway, so the good news: Clay Millican won the fan shootout. Great news. Super proud and super happy that Clay was able to win that and get a chance to get in that shootout for a bunch of dough.
Yep, a chance for $100,000, and like you said, they need a boost. He needs a boost. He could just use just any sort of uplift, and I'm sure that really helped out in a big way for
no
Clay
doubt
Millican.
about it. But for that whole team, for Clay's a neat guy. He's got a great team. Doug Stringer, David Grubnick.
And Grubby, yep.
It's a great team. So they actually, the way that car's been running, they've got potential to be able to win rounds and even win races. They're at the beginning of the year they kind of struggled. We talked to Grubnick, we talked to Clay. They kind of came out with no testing, no anything, and jumped right into it. And the car's kind of coming around now, so happy about that. On the phone, we've got Dave Rieff. Let's talk a little bit of ESPN and NHRA TV.
Dave Rieff, how are you?
Oh, I am really on cloud nine. I don't know that I unitask very well, let alone multitask. But I'm following this Traxxas Nitro Shootout stuff, and Clay getting that nod with only 24 lottery balls out of 100 just brings so much joy to my heart. I'm glad for him to get that opportunity, and of course that just sets the stage. And little preview of that round one: he's going to end up racing Tony Schumacher. You got the IHRA's best against the NHRA's best. For that reason alone, right there, to be excited about the Traxxas Top Fuel Shootout for sure.
Yeah, that is neat. Tell us a little bit about this weekend's race, what you see, what the broadcast schedule is going to be. Where can fans tune in to find out about details?
Well, it's going to be a wide open weekend, like it typically is. Sunday is going to be your big time coverage day. It's taken on a little bit of a different structure this year. I believe there's maybe 7.5, 8 hours of coverage on Sunday, and it's going to be split between both ESPN2 and ESPN. I believe the early show on Sunday is going to be on ESPN. That starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. The evening show is 11 p.m. Eastern. So if you're out there on the left coast of California, you'll catch that in prime time. But That's going to be on ESPN2. But those are the shows you're going to want to watch to see. I'm sure we'll highlight the Hemi Challenge. And we're definitely going to have the Top Fuel shootout for the early portion of the show. We'll have the Funny Car shootout for the late portion of that show. And it, of course, all sets the stage for the finals on Monday, which, again, have a little different feel this year, just a 3-hour show. So I think with all the things that are going to go on this weekend, the biggest challenge we're going to have is trying to figure out how to get it all in.
Yeah, no question.
I mean? Right.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about not being able to unitask very well, much less multitask. So, I mean, you're getting ready for 13 hours of coverage. I mean, how do you do that?
Well, fortunately, I was just crunching some numbers earlier, and it kind of scared the hell out of myself. I'm getting to be, up there in the age a little bit. This will be my 20th U.S. National,
wow,
which I'm excited about. But, this is the weekend that certainly brings the best out, not just in the teams that come there with their best look, the new pieces, the new parts, and stuff like that. It's the same story for us. This is our showcase weekend. So, and then with everything that's going on, golly, the points and a half, the guys that are chasing the countdown spots, the track shootouts, of course, what it means just simply to win the U.S. Nationals, to have the legends. I was listening and enjoying hearing from Shirley earlier today. Warren Johnson, by the way, who used the words embryonic stage and intellectual intercourse in your show today.
Yeah.
I want you to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm. No, we're very aware of that. Yeah.
We were laughing in between
Oh,
about
my God.
that. Dave, what do you
we'll
think?
Bring our best.
What do you think some of the biggest stories this weekend are going to be at this U.S. Nationals?
Well, certainly mentioned a lot of it. For those early shows and qualifying. We're really going to be, paying attention to those drivers that are countdown critical, and that's one of the reasons I feel good about Clay Millican getting that Traxxas spot. It'd be great to give him something to really look forward to start his weekend well. There's a lot of good stories between Cruz Pedregon, Alexis DeJoria, and Courtney, 9th, 10th, and 11th in the points. One of those racers is not going to be in the countdown of the championship. And Alexis is coming in as the defending champ, hasn't won since Indy. That's huge. We all know about Courtney's struggles this year and Cruz Pedregon. So those drivers separated by 4 rounds. Bikes 9 through 15 are 4 rounds apart. There's all of those stories. So following the points and a half trail, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. You get out the abacus or the calculator to try to figure out how that's going to change things. And then, of course, dealing with the story you guys talked about, Spencer Massey being out, that's going to be big. But of course, all of that stuff just sets the stage for Monday. And gosh, you can't wait for Monday. It's the best follow the ball moment of the year to see. Like last year with the 4 first-time winners. That'll be awesome if we could duplicate that again. But of course, all those defending champions would love to go back to back. So never a shortage of stories for this weekend, for sure.
Yeah, your buddy Mike Dunn comes out each week with his power rankings, and I know that this is going to be a shocker, absolute shocker to you. But Tony Schumacher is on top of the Top Fuel power rankings for this week. I'm not sure why. But he put Tony Schumacher at the top of the Top Fuel list.
And it's not hard. That's kind of an obvious. And you start looking over. You get to this time of the year, you realize that really Indianapolis should be the adopted home of Tony Schumacher, a guy that didn't win the U.S. Nationals till 2000, but now has 9 of those wins. He's approaching that 10-win plateau, tied with Bob Glidden right now. So that's going to be a big story we're working on. And what's cool, I know I've said this a lot, and I say it all the time, but it's a great way to put my career in the NHRA in perspective. My very first race was the U.S. Nationals 1996. That just happened to be Tony Schumacher's first race, 1996. Yeah, it was the year we lost Blaine, but that was also the year that Tony Schumacher started there and went to the finals in his first race. And what has he done since 2000? Just dominated the biggest drag race on the planet. So for him to win another one would be another yawning moment, but be the first pro to hit double digits. That'd be pretty cool as well.
Yeah, no question. Dave, how can you sum up the funny car class over the last couple of months? I mean, we're talking about the quickest run has been lowered by a 10th, not 100th, a 10th over, let's say, the last couple of months. The world record has come down almost an entire 10th.
Yeah,
since about Norwalk or so. I've never seen anything like this in one category where everybody just makes this monumental leap from one stage to another.
And I still don't know that I can really explain it. Mike Gunn's been in the sport since the beginning of his DNA and his father's regular intercourse, whatever you want to call that. But he's having a hard time putting this together, too. Just what Jimmy Prock, John Medlin, and Chris Cunningham have put together over there is simply mind-boggling. When you start seeing numbers in Funny Car, where a 394 or 395 pops up on the board, you kind of go, oh,
right.
Yeah, that's the ho-hum. Yeah, it's a top 10 run, but, it's ho-hum compared to 387s and all these other huge numbers that Beckman continues to throw out. At some point, and probably this weekend, it's going to end. Now, the good news is the intrigue is still going to be there because what they've done, and I love the term Mike Dunn came up with right away, when he did start processing this, it's a game changer. And it's definitely changed the game and raised the bar for all the other crew chiefs. And we've seen John Schaefer and John Force, respond going 393. And we all know that Tommy Johnson apparently is the only kryptonite to the Superman that is Jack Beckman in the category. But what it really does is it just makes the countdown to the championship, knowing we're going to Charlotte in September. It can be cool. The way the schedule has played out, everybody keeps saying probably the next time we'll see it when we head to the Keystone Nationals, first weekend October, Reading, Pennsylvania, an all-concrete facility. But it really has been a game changer. It's really raised the bar. And I always say one other quick thing. You always got to look at where the talent lies. And for years, and I'm not suggesting John Force does not have talent. He's got some incredible people over there. John Schaefer is an up-and-comer that is going to be good. Mike Ness been doing a great job for years. Todd Smith does a great job with Brittany's car. But you remember how John Force was kind of the first one to come up with that brain trust? It was Coyle and Federley and Medlin. Yeah. Well, geez, look at all of the names that exist over there in Don Schumacher's camp now. It is simply staggering. Yeah. But John Force is gonna get back in the game because he's never that far out of it.
John Force is a little bit cagey, isn't he? Wouldn't you say that?
He's cagey, and if you've paid attention enough to the show, Shirley, and I'm sure you guys have, he's a little perturbed. His back's against the wall. Robert couldn't have come at a better time for him, a big win. But having his daughter with her back to the wall in the countdown, not only the countdown, but this Traxxas deal today. That's not how John Force makes a living. That's not what John Force is used to.
Right. Hey, Dave, tell us a little bit about the TV, the NHRA TV changes. What you know about it for the upcoming year.
All I know is as a first and foremost a fan of this sport, it brings intense excitement. Not to say that ESPN has done anything wrong. I think the collective group of 60, 70 people that come out each and every week, I'm obviously very, very proud of the job that we have done over the years. And looking forward, it's exciting to bring that many live events. Now, it may cause a little consternation among those in the pits, but, the term that came out with the announcement was 16 live events, 4 nationally on the Fox National network, which we've never had a live drag race on a national network, to my knowledge. And so that's exciting. And I know Terry Blunt has done some media obligations and whatnot. And God, correct me if I'm wrong, I may have even heard the words 20 come out of his mouth. That it may have risen out to 20. So
wow. With
what Fox is going to bring and a new relationship and a relationship that's going to be dedicated, I think, on both sides, because Fox is going to work with the NHRA. And do their best to promote them. I think along with this, the television show is going to be the basis, the center of it, if you will. But the social aspect of it is going to grow in leaps and bounds, too. We are going to start throwing, slinging, spreading the gospel of the NHRA out there and get people excited about this thing. So I think there are definitely greener pastures ahead starting in less than 6 months. Golly, it's hard to believe the Winter Nationals are already coming that quick.
Yeah, no question about it. 13 hours of live coverage, or of coverage, some of that being live as well on ESPN this weekend. Dave Rieff, thanks for joining us. It's a really busy weekend for you, and so we appreciate your time and for being with us here on the Straight Line. Good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it. I don't know if you can tell how excited I am. I've been going about 330 miles an hour with my mouth this morning. I'm just fired up about it.
Thanks, Dave. Good to talk to you, buddy.
You bet. Always. Thanks, guys.
Dave Rieff, lead announcer for ESPN's coverage of NHRA Mellow Yellow drag racing, and joining us on the Straight Line. When we return, we'll wrap up another great edition of the Straight Line.
You're listening to The Straight Line. More right after this.
The road to victory lane isn't just for drivers anymore. Introducing the official daily fantasy game of NASCAR at DraftKings.com, America's favorite daily fantasy sports site. Just pick a team of 5 drivers and stay under the salary cap. Outscore your opponents and win. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code COAST to play for free. You could win part of the $1 billion in prizes being awarded this year. Enter COAST to play for free now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Defend your vehicle from harmful elements and restore shine with Armor All canister wipes. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up Armor All canister wipes for $3.99 and earn double points during O Rewards Member Appreciation Month. Easily remove dirt, dust, and grime with Armor All canister wipes. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts with Marty Hough and Doug Herbert.
Thanks to Warren Johnson, Shirley Muldowney, and Dave Rieff for joining us on The Straight Line. Doug, it's one of the things that Shirley talked about, and the couple of times that I've been at the U.S. Nationals, the memory of just looking down those staging lanes and seeing nothing but cars is unbelievable. Yeah. And it's kind of come back a little bit because of the cost of racing and everything. But still, even though it's in today's world, there's still a million cars that show up in the U.S.
Well, I think typically they have over 600 cars that show up there to race, so it's a big weekend for racing. They pit on both sides of the racetrack. It's a long event. The final eliminations are Monday, but they're racing sportsman cars, I think, today or maybe tomorrow. But they're
today.
Yes, today.
It is
so
today.
There's almost a week of racing there in Indy. It's a big deal. So there's a lot going on, not only at the track but also around town. We just got word that Courtney Force won the Traxxas Countdown. I don't know if that's really a big surprise. Traxxas car.
Yeah.
You don't think they can? I don't know. Whatever. But. Anyways, congratulations, Courtney Force and team, for getting in the Traxxas shootout.
Yep.
Congratulations on that. But anyways, back to the deal. It's a big deal. The race is a big deal. I think that a lot of the luster wore off of Indy, my opinion, over the last few years. It just became another race. With this points-and-a-half deal, I think that's a big thing. I think that's a good thing. I'm glad they did something to make Indy a little bit special.
Right. And not only does it... Because Indy is special, but you're right. It did kind of lose its luster. It was just, okay, this is another points event. There's 24 points events. Sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle.
And, it was a little more money. Yeah, it was a little this, little that, whatever. It was another race.
Right. But now, first of all, it's the race that gets you into the countdown.
Right.
So that makes it important. Now it's points and a half, and, man, it's back. It's the crown is back on top of the U.S. Nationals, and we cannot wait for it. Thanks to WJ, Warren Johnson, Shirley Muldowney, and Dave Rieff for joining us on The Straight Line this week. So for everybody involved, we appreciate you joining us here on The Straight Line. For Doug, for Craig, I'm Marty. We will talk to you next week right here on The Straight Line.
You've been listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Tune in next Wednesday at noon for more NHRA talk. The Straight Line is also available on demand in the MRN.com Media Center or download from iTunes or Stitcher. The Straight Line is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.